PSGL, George Morgan here and Jack Pinat.
All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go!
Contact between the Mercedes teammates.
Denoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Beresne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Borman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, the final round of the F3 season is upon us, and we're here for what should be an incredible title decider here in Abu Dhabi. I mean, we've got just a couple of drivers in contention for the title, but to have a couple of drivers in contention for the title is not something that you do every single day, and especially not when you hit the final round of the season. Tudor Pressakan on 59 points, Alexander Dimas on 56, with Cameron Dowds on 52 in behind. You've got a three-way fight for the title. We've got 18 drivers vying it out for the race victory here in Abu Dhabi. You've got myself, Joseph Black, alongside tonight, Omi Zaidi.
Hello Joseph, hello everyone. Really looking forward to today's title final. It all comes down to this. After 8 incredible races in one of the shortest seasons we've had in recent times, it is time to crown our champion as we say goodbye to F1 24, and we also say goodbye to our title sponsor GT Omega as well. So it is a big night today, and we've got a perfect way to end it with an incredible championship fight. And no matter what is streamed today, whether it's F2, F3 or F4, all of them still have a champion to be crowned, and that's just a perfect way to end off F1 24.
Yes, and while it's of course not been the greatest game, we have had some of the greatest battles that we could have possibly had across this season, and it's only happening once again. And well, as I say, the top 3 separated by a hair, and we should be in for some exciting action. We've got a few exciting developments coming later on as well. Don't you worry about that one, and I'm sure you'll all be excited to see what Omi's got up his sleeve for this evening's action. But as it stands, we are getting ready for the first runs here in Abu Dhabi for the finale. Talk to me, Omi, about Abu Dhabi as a circuit in general, as we've got our first driver, Cameron Dowds, on his push lap. And talk to me, how important is qualifying?
Well, very important, especially if you are a title contender. While it is PSGL, while the opportunities are endless, you do need to still qualify near the front, or you're going to find yourself in a bit of trouble if you qualify at the back with work to do, because you're going to see the title contenders being aggressive. You're going to see drivers who aren't part of that title fight take the complete opposite approach, as they have nothing to lose. It's the last race, they're all going to go out there, have a bit of fun, but 3 main drivers, which we already talked about, Pressakan, Dowds, and also Dimas in the middle, they all have a championship to think about, and it means that you've got different approaches going in. You don't want to find yourself in the mid-pack, you want to be at the front, you want to be in contention, and you want to give yourself the best opportunity to try and get that championship. Whether that's Pressakan just winning the race to try and make sure that he, that there's absolutely no chance of anyone beating him, or whether it's Dimas and Dowds trying to get the best possible result and hoping that Pressakan finishes lower down, whatever the scenario is, qualifying is important, and it's going to decide how today is going to go in terms of our championship. And Abu Dhabi, talking about that, brilliant circuit and a brilliant place to hold our title final as well. Plenty of overtaking opportunities, and we have a couple of DRS zones too that run back to back. So quite a lot of fun coming our way, and we have the lap times coming our way right now at the same time with 14 minutes and under 30 seconds to go.
Yeah, Leonardo Tonelato going up to the top of the standings. Cameron Dowds was the early pace setter, and Tudor Pressakan has now become exactly that, a 21.3 going up to the top by 0.07 of a second. And the Mercedes is the best placed driver, points-wise at least, to take that victory away. And he's going to try and do exactly that as we head through this race. Marcel Biega going up to the top to make it a Mercedes 1-2. Alexander Dimas currently sitting in P5, just ahead of Cameron Dowds by 0.12 of a second. So it's all so very tight. 2 drivers in the 21.3s and then 4 drivers in the 21.4s. And Jerry Van Bussel just outside. It's all so close together. 1st to 13th, split by 0.3 of a second. So there's lots of opportunities for these drivers today. That being not just those 15, but also Oleg Napadovsky, Wojtek Steg and Lighty as well, who haven't come out and set their lap times. But pretty decent start then for the two Mercedes, in particular Marcel Biega.
Other than Tony Hitala, we've not had a repeat pole sitter this year. Hitala's of course gone on to be promoted to F2, which you'll be able to catch from 8 PM later on today as well. But we are still, it's been hyper competitive when it's come to qualifying. We do have the point for pole position, as we've already mentioned, across the entire season, and as we've had for a couple of seasons now, and it's been a great addition, and it means that we could see the championship go in someone's favour from this session straight afterwards. It can immediately switch. It'll only be 1 point, but that's all that needs. But that's all that's needed for there to see a little switch in terms of positioning. All of the different positions, of course, vary when it comes to points, meaning that it can change the game. It can be critical, that 1 point, and all of those that have throughout the season also heavily important at the end of this season when they come across the line, and we wait and see who the champion driver is. But it's Biega, Pressakan and Tornolato, our top 3 at the moment. As you mentioned, Tornolato, our most recent pole sitter, of course, from Mexico City, in what was also quite a close qualifying session. And Joseph, you were, of course, with me in the commentary box for that one.
Yeah, Mexico was very good. I mean, we've had a number of very good races this year, and whoever takes the title will certainly earn it. And, well, yeah, penultimate race of the season in Mexico was a great one. And we've had 9 races across these 2 months. And we are heading to the end of the final couple of... it's the final couple of races here in F1 24. And it's the final race here in F3, of course. The seasons are ending this evening. And there's a lot to play for all of these drivers. Regardless of whether you're in the championship fight or not, you still want to put on your best performance and your best show here today, because it could have a bearing on your placement for the next season, which will be season number 40 in PSGL, and it will be, well, a huge season. I like a regular number, and 40 would be just that. Heading through the second sector, Oleg Napadovsky, he'll come out to the end of it, and he'll come up to the second sector split time with a 52.1. We'll see where the Haas driver puts himself as he comes around the final sector. The final sector with not many overtaking opportunities, but a lot of opportunity to gain time, especially in a qualifying session when you can head through it and really just throw the car in as much as you possibly can. Now, only a couple of corners to go. Only 1 more braking zone to go. This one just being a simple lift and then a brake for the final corner. But Oleg actually opting to come into the pit lane and not set his lap time. So the Haas driver struggling. Wojciech Steg also struggling, not setting a lap time. Lighty is in the second sector now, and he is getting ready for his run. Dowds and Pastor Maldonado both out. Yep, the real Pastor Maldonado both out on their push laps, and everybody else, barring Napadovsky now and Marcel Biega, sitting waiting for their out laps to end and their push laps to begin. There's only 3 tenths separating the top 13. You've got 5 drivers who are very capable of getting in there vying for those lower places. We'll have to wait and see. Lighty around the final corner. He is going to continue on his lap, and the first lap time from a kicks out, but this evening will be invalidated. Lighty came up to the line with a 21.5, but he invalidated around the final corner, and so he will not be setting a lap time. Cameron Dowd's improving by a tenth in the first 2 sectors.
Cameron Dowd's pushing on. It will be very vital for him if he can get himself up there. He is one of the 3 title contenders, but he is lowest of all. Currently finds himself 7 points away, so he'll need every single point that he can get out of the final corner, going up to the line, improves to the front row, but misses out on the P1 spot that still belongs to Marcel Biega, and it's Dowds who's able to get close, but still not able to get to the 1 point available for that pole position. Here is Alexander Dimas, though, as we cut over to the Alpine driver, as Maldonado goes quickest of all to the top of the timing board. Let's see what Dimas can do as he makes his way through. He's still improving by over a tenth of a second, so Alexander Dimas is going to need a mega third sector if he wants to continue to try and improve that time, if he wants to go to the top of the leaderboard. A couple more corners to go as Campbell Adams, our pole sitter from Brazil, goes quickest of all. Pressacan across the line, and Pressacan to the top of the table as well. We now see Dimas cut the beam. It's an improvement by a little bit, but he still finds himself in 6th position. So that's very interesting stuff coming in there as we now look to Joe Van Bussel in the Alpine, who's also navigating his way through. He'll come into the pit lane, so he'll abandon that final lap. But it's Pressacan, Adams, and Maldonado our top 3.
It is indeed, and well, it's only 2 thousandths of a second splitting Pressacan and Adams, but then a whole tenth back to Pastor Maldonado in P3. So a huge gap. How are we, chaps? We're good, thank you. I believe that might be Corey coming in before his F2 stream and preparing for the final the final session for him in this season. It's coming up to the second sector split time. What's this going to be? For the VCARB, it's an improvement, 1/4 of a second for the man currently sitting in last place, but he is 4 tenths back from Zach Miles, and it's another 3 tenths up to Felipe Sousa. So if he can find 5 tenths in this final sector, then he will be flying. If not, then he will still be struggling. Around the final couple of corners comes the FVR driver. There's a yellow flag out in sector 3, but I believe that is for a Red Bull who's coming around the couple of corners to get himself ready for his run. It's up to the line. Where is he going to go? He's currently sitting in 15th, and a 22.0 is not enough for the time being. So the VCARB down there really struggling for lap time early on. He finds himself 8 tenths off a Tudor Pressacan.
He does indeed. So that's super tight between those 2 drivers. We're taking a look at the Haas of Oleg Napadovsky. Let's see what he's going to be able to do then, as he's the driver who's had a best result of 2nd when it's come to the 18 minutes of qualifying so far this season. This is the final qualifying session of the season, as we've already mentioned, and he's right now heading down to the final corners around this circuit. Let's see what the Haas man will be able to do. Takes the wide line to give himself the best exit, keeps it within the white lines. That's critical, and he'll move up to 5th position, directly ahead of his teammate Cameron Dowds.
Yep, well done there from Oleg Napadovsky to soak up all the pressure that he would have felt from not having a qualifying lap set just yet, and going up there in P5 with a 21.3, just a little bit off of Marcel Biega in P4, the early pace setter, with of course, his teammate Tudor Pressacan, the one in contention for the championship at the moment. And, well, Pressacan went even faster with a 21.2. And he's now, I'm sure, going to try and get one more lap in, as there is not much more opportunity for those laps to be set. Just under 6 minutes left on the clock. That's about enough time for 2 more laps at a push. And, well, we'll see if he's able to do that. I think it's going to be a stretch, but it could always happen, as Napadovsky is ready to come into the pits. Jerry Van Bussel is invalidated on his lap already, so he will not be setting one. Cameron Dowds is trying to go for a push lap. Well, the championship contender at the moment, he's shown decent pace, but he hasn't quite yet hooked up a full lap to the pace of Tudor Pressacan, and he's going to try and do exactly that, improving by 0.5 tenth in that first sector. And the Haas driver is going to look to not only leap his teammate, but leap Adams and Pressacan and try to take that, at least provisional, pole position.
That'll be the aim. DRS wide open. Turn number 6 is coming up. A hard-braking spot for the drivers, and of course also a great overtaking opportunity at the same time. Can't get it done through turn number 6, 7, and then we get down to this straight where there's another opportunity for them to overtake, but it's a lot more harder into turn number 9, and it can get very close, and that will be the case across the 29 laps we're going to see in a couple of moments time. So far though, the straight's not going the way of Cameron Dowds. He has lost time, and he finds himself now trying to recover that in this final sector in Abu Dhabi, which has been made wider over the last few years as well, and that has meant that it's more fast, it's more flowing for Cameron Dowds to go attacking as Leonardo Tornolato goes to the top. The man trying to get back-to-back pole positions. He's in P1. Cameron Dowds in P7 is heading back to the pit lane, not happy with the lap time, and that was a lap that got away from him. Here's Alexander Dimas as he heads down to turn 1.
Yeah, Dimas, the Alpine, looking to improve on his 21.3. Of course, lots of drivers now filtering through with the 21.3 as a lap time, and not improving in that first sector, 0.044 in the first 17 seconds of his lap time. Now going down the main straight, this is where you are really tested in terms of your straight line speed. It's not necessarily a test of your abilities, but it's a test of your setups, and the more you think you can, the more you think you need in the corners, the slower you're going to go in the straights. Campbell Adams and Leonardo Tornolato, rapid laps, but Campbell Adams up to the top of the 21.0, and he now goes a tenth and a half ahead of Judah Prescans. There is time on the board. Dimas has found a little bit of time in that second sector. It might not be enough, though, to challenge for that pole position unless he lost a significant chunk of time in this final sector. The Alpine is going to test it now as he heads through the final few corners and try to throw everything at this lap time. Is he going to be able to close up on that 21.0 set by Campbell Adams? If not, then he's going to try and aim for the 21.2 set by Judah Prescans in P3. Around the final corner he comes. Alexander Dimas, 21.2. It's 4th place for the Alpine driver, and it's just behind his championship rival, Judah Prescans. I don't think he'll be particularly happy with that one, and he's only got enough time to maybe squeak round for one more push lap. It's going to be very tight as to whether Dimas is going to be able to make it through, but the Alpine has to try and fly through now if he wants any chance of taking this pole position.
Pressure is seriously on the 3 contenders for the title at this stage of qualifying. None of them are getting the 1 point available for pole position, and they know that that advantage going into the race can be critical, and it's going to be really interesting to see whether they'll all be able to fight back in the final run. They all want to definitely be together on the grid. Well, if you are Dimas and Dowd, you'll want to be ahead of Prescans. Prescans' goal today is just to keep his rivals behind. If he could do that, he is the champion no matter what. But at the same time, as we've already touched on today so far, you've got the 3 contenders, of course, fighting for the title. But we've got all of the other drivers who are going to try end it on a high. And as the saying goes, of course, you're only as good as your last race. The drivers have a bit of time to wait till we get to F1 25 as well, till the season properly gets underway. So a bit of waiting for the drivers to do after this. So ending on a high now will be quite positive and will definitely give them a bit of confidence boost before they head into the wait for the new game.
Yes, it's going to be a long wait, I'm sure. As much as we've loved F1 24, it will feel like such a long break between 24 and 25. Always does. Alexander Dimas, by the way, retiring from the session and not going for another push lap. He believes that 21.2 will be good enough, or he didn't believe he will be able to make it round for another lap. Oleg Napadovsky now, the first driver on these final runs. Justin Ertz the second, and his teammate Valentino Labella the third. Napadovsky up to the first sector split time, not improving, 300ths down, and well, Adams in P1, Dimas in P4 will not be improving on their lap times. Everybody else will be able to, and so this is going to go right down to the wire. It's the final round of your F3 season, and the final qualifying session will be split by hairs and decided by a second.
Pressure is now on. Napadovsky gets the DRS open. Turn number 9, the fast. Turn number 9 coming up for the Haas man as he tries to see what he's going to be able to do on his lap. You've got multiple drivers now beginning their push lap. So let's see how this one is going to end. And Napadovsky is going to go through the 3rd and final sector. So Adams has retired. Dimas has retired. So Dimas is going to be vulnerable to losing plenty of positions. That is not what he wanted. It wasn't enough time for him to get back back in, get back out, and push on in these conditions, like you're seeing Oleg Napadovsky. The checkered flag is flying at the end of the final qualifying session on F1 24. Napadovsky comes across the line, and he gets the 5th fastest time. Now, we've got more drivers making their way through near the end of the lap. Felipe Saz will be trying to push on, but we look to Cameron Dowd, who is in a very, very crucial qualifying ending right now, as he tries to get himself higher up the order. Can Dowd improve his time? He gets up to P3. Not the pole position he would have wanted, but it's going to be 3rd position. And we now look to his title rival, Presican, coming out of the final corner, going up to the line, and he improves to the front row, but he misses out on pole position, which still belongs to Campbell Adams.
Yes, he took that front row start, which could be crucial as we head through the final few laps of this session, and Tudor Presican up to the front row. Around the final corner comes Ryan Grob as Leonardo Tonelato does not improve. He goes up to a 21.3. Felipe Sousa, P12, and Wojciech Steg does not improve, but he is the final driver across the line in this qualifying session, and well, he goes up in he stays in P14, but that is pole position going the way of a driver who is not in the championship contention. Campbell Adams taking that pole position away, and Tudor Presican sitting in P2. Then it's Leonardo Tonelato 3rd, Cameron Dowd's 4th, Alexander Dimas 5th with Marcel Biega 6th. Then it's Napadovsky, Labella, Marcel Pabst and Pastor Maldonado rounding out the top 10 with Grob, Sousa, Van Bussel, Steg, Cavero, Miles, Et and Lighty rounding out the grid. Lighty actually not setting a lap time at all in the end, so that is a very, very big moment for the Swedish driver, as he's going to have to start from the back of the field. But we finally have the ability to reveal to you the surprise Omi has been keeping for so long a row on his face, as we just cut to the camera screen, and you can see there probably quite a lot. But what's going on there? Why is it doing that? I've had issues with OBS, but you can see there Omi suited and booted, ready for the final round of your F3 season. Ugh.
Suit last time out when we had a title final, and I also did it for Las Vegas. And then I got a message from Corey earlier on, who of course is the main commentator. He was expecting to be doing this race with us, and yes, we both decided to wear a suit, so it'll be interesting to see whether he's still wearing the suit later on in F2. That'll be coming up from 8 p.m. as well. But, well, we're going to be in for a very, very interesting title final. And yes, I had to make sure that I did have the suit on for this big moment. As we mentioned, not only the end of a season, but the end of a game cycle, and also our amazing partnership with GT Omega as well.
Yes, GT Omega. There we go, right. So yeah, there you go. Just a quick little message there from GT Omega as we end off our partnership. And it will be a shame. It's been many a season that we've had with GT Omega. And well, it's a shame that that partnership's coming to an end. But as they say, all good things must come to an end. And well, speaking of the F1 24 game coming to an end, what are your thoughts on the end of what has been a wonderful game cycle, Omi?
Well, I don't really have to drive it, and I know while there's been a lot of complaining, I don't luckily have to drive it, and I haven't driven it as well. Well, to be fair, I've not even had access to the game, so... but from what I've watched, I guess the races, the drivers, the effort they put in is always incredible. So for me, nothing changes in terms of that. The action always goes down to the last lap usually. We get phenomenal title fights like this. We get put in scenarios where we have 3 drivers all battling for it at the end. So at the end of the day, it's all still close. And as a commentator, all you want is close racing and for it to go down to the last lap, which is why we all pick up a microphone in the first place. So we get all of that still. But yes, I'm hoping for the driver's side that they're able to definitely get a bit of a better game and better handling and everything that comes with it. And well, if the racing can get even better, then I'd absolutely love that to be the case.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it in pretty decent detail, but I just want to know, what would we call this one? Would we call it, if it did end up going down to this, would we call it Abu Dhabi 39 or would we call it Abu Dhabi 25? Because technically it is 2025 at the same time. It's season 39, so there's couple of debates that we can have in the comments box, but the equation is simple for the top drivers. Pressakan, Dimas and Dowd, 59, 56, 52. Campbell Adams picking up that point in the battle for that 4th place, and I'm sure he'll be looking to try and take that one up there, and he won't care about the battle at the top between Pressakan, Dimas and Dowd, but those drivers will certainly care about those top positions, and whether they're going to be able to finish in them. Pressakan in the end did take that front row start and will be starting in prime position out of all of the championship contenders, with Dowd in 4th and Dimas in 5th. They demonstrated the pace that we know they can have in qualifying, but can they translate it into the race? That's going to be a whole other debate, and well, we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, now comes the time where we talk about whether they're able to do it in the race. Do you reckon that they'll be able to translate that decent qualifying pace into race pace?
Well, there's a lot of factors to play within a PSGL race. If it was a real-life race, you just pick your top contenders and probably expect them to win it. But with PSGL, we get challenges, we get drivers coming from absolutely nowhere. So with everything combined, I think with all of the scenarios that we've got a great title fight. We've, of course, got loads of drivers with absolutely nothing to lose going for it, like our pole sitter today. So we find ourselves in what's going to be an interesting race. So I think drivers like Campbell Adams are going to be challenged quite a bit, especially by the title contenders who we have noticed in recent time. And I remember, of course, watching last season as well. Diego Zorza, Ray Imtiaz fighting for this title, and both of them had that extra push. So if the title contenders find themselves with that extra push, then it can be a little bit hard sometimes for some of those other drivers who have nothing to lose. But at the same time, they can risk their front wing, they can go for it. And at the end of the day, if they do find themselves off the road, then they haven't lost the championship. So there's risk versus reward stuff pretty much for today.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was going to say. Risk versus reward was the term that I was going to use. But it should be very interesting to see what ends up happening with all the risk and reward stuff, because of course there are no real risks for the drivers down below apart from this individual race, and they won't care too much about this individual race, I don't think, in terms of risk and reward. That it'll be very low, the risk, because it won't really matter to them, but the reward will be so much higher. It'll be taking a position, so it'll be all of that balancing up that they're going to have to do as we head into race day. Speaking of race day, we're getting ready to go very soon, so Omi, give me your predictions. Who's going to come out on top in this final race here in PSGL F3 on F1 24 and in season 39?
Well, okay, here we go. Prediction time. Well, I'm going to probably go for one of the title contenders in this case. I think it would definitely be a perfect way, considering what we're going off in terms of if we are looking to predict someone. With what I'm saying in terms of the contenders having a bit of push, a bit of that extra push that they're able to use, I think Cameron Dowd, I think with his momentum, he's definitely shown that he's consistent. He's definitely shown that he has the pace and absolutely everything ever since he's returned back to PC. I mean, he's only been here since round 5, and he's a title contender. Like, just take a look at that. It's absolutely unbelievable stuff. He's been on the podium, he's got 2 wins, he's got 2 third places in the 4 races that he's had. So, if you are trying to predict someone to get the win and maybe get the championship, I think he definitely is a safe bet, just due to how consistent he's been, and also just due to how fast he's been as well. But don't count anybody out in this one.
No, I mean, those top 3 have been consistently quick all season. That is why they're the title contenders. But as you say, Cameron Dowd hasn't been here for very long and is already a title contender. Can't say the same, for example, Rens Thomason, who is not quite up there, and they made a similar switch this season. So Cameron Dowd, for him, it could be the potential championship here in PCF3, and it's going to be a very interesting debate to see whether the Scotsman's going to be able to come out on top. I'm personally going to back Tudor Pressacan. I think he's just going to have the bottle where he needs it, because well, that is what really matters in this race. It's about having that bottle, and Tudor Pressacan, he's going into this race with the championship lead, so he's not under pressure to take any positions at all. Instead, he's under pressure to hold on to those positions, and it's easier to hold on to them than to take them. But of course, I'm in the comms box, so I'm not down there in the cars, and it would be very interesting to get the perspective of those who sit in those cars as it stands. But Pressacan, 3 points is the gap between himself and Dimas. If Dimas was to win today, he would be the victor. Dowds would not if Tudor Pressacan ended up finishing P2. And in fact, if Alexander Dimas ended up finishing 2, it would go back on countback, which Dowds would win anyway. But Pressacan being in such a position, if it's a poor race for Dimas, Pressacan will be just desperate to be in that top 2. He will have even more pressure released off of him because he knows that Cameron Dowds, if he wins, won't necessarily win that title. So it's all the maths that he's going to be trying to do in his head as he waits on the grid.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, for these drivers, they find themselves in a situation where Pressacan, he just needs to stay ahead of his rivals and he's done the job. Pretty much, that is the case. If he can just keep the 2 drivers that he's battling with, Dimas and Dowds, behind, then pretty much that's job done. So it's definitely a safe bet to go for him to pick to win that title, considering he's already in that first position. But it's going to be interesting to see how he plays it and how much attack he does get from Dowds and Dimas. But different goals for all 3 of the drivers, and it's going to be really, really fascinating to see how this one plays out, and of course along with all of the other drivers who will be dive bombing and making moves. So it's going to be all of these different battles and races just meeting in the middle, and it's going to be phenomenal to see how all of them handle it. And of course the esports teams will be looking to also not only see who comes out on top, but to see how the drivers handle this type of situation, in hope that these drivers do it for their esports team in the future. So a lot to prove, and even if it's just a final race, a lot still to win for these drivers.
Yeah, we'll finish off this F1 24 game and this number 39 under the lights in Abu Dhabi. But as the sun sets over the Yas Marina circuit, we will be getting plenty of action right ahead of us. I believe it's 29 laps that the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix will be, and at the end of it, there will be one champion to rule them all. I mean, it's been a crazy season. 28 drivers have raced across this season, and in the end of it, there can only be one who takes that championship. Will it be Pressacan? Will it be Dimas? Will it be Dowds? We're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, it should certainly be one for the ages.
Yep. Three drivers, three talented contenders, but only one champion by the end of today. And that is definitely the cool thing about it, because you have so many talented drivers performing all throughout the season, but it all comes down to this. There can only be one victor at the end of it, and it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be able to do it. Lots of strategy, lots of keeping your nose to calm, and we're about to get going.
Yes, it's 5 lights here in Abu Dhabi. We've got 3 drivers in contention for the title, and we are underway for the action. Campbell Adams trying to go for around the outside into turn number 1, but he gets a poor start, and Pressacan leads. Leonardo Tonelato goes through into P2. It's side by side between Dowds and Adams for that P3, but your championship leader Pressacan takes the lead of this Grand Prix. Looking further back, it's Marcel Paps trying to defend from his teammate Ryan Grob around the outside. He tries to go the long way, gets squeezed out and drops down the field. There's contact between a few of the drivers. Paps, Cavero and Steg caught up in it, and they will drop down. Damage for a couple of them, I believe. But Tudor Pressacan, out of all of that, will lead. Tonelato could be looking for that P1, but doesn't quite make that move yet. Napadovsky, late dive on the inside, and that has cost him time. He went for the risk. There was no reward, and he drops down to P8. Pressacan leads.
Absolutely, you see Pressacan at the front of the field, Tornolato in second position at this stage as we throw it down to turn number 9 here on the opening lap of the race, and you've got Zach Miles dropping down the order. Further back in the Aston Martin, he drops down as Carrera gets past Valentino Labella. It's Pressacan still our race leader as we're about to get to the end of the opening lap.
Yes, end of the opening lap, and it will be Pressacan in the prime position, but with DRS being enabled on the next lap and a double dose coming in after the first sector, it'll be interesting to see how much time Pressacan loses, but he does lead out of the first lap. And, well, he and Tonelato both on the medium compound of tyre. That is a gamble in comparison to what the rest of the grid had done. And Pressacan looking now to try to close... Well, try to build that gap. Tonelato looking to try and close it. Campbell Adams sitting. That is why he got a poor start. 5 tenths behind because he is on a set of the hard compound tyres. And he's got Cameron Dowds and Alexander Dimas for company. 2 drivers who will be absolutely desperate to get ahead. We will watch now with these drivers as they head down the straight. Tonelato making his way past Pressacan, and he moves into the lead of this race.
Yeah, apparently I'm coming through twice on your
Sorted
OBS,
now,
which is
don't
not what
worry.
anyone wants. Which is not what anyone wants at all. So hopefully that will be sorted as you mentioned just now. Tornolato though, at the front still, as we're about to get the DRS coming into play. Dimas in 5th position, Dowds in 4th, Pressacan in position though to still win the title. Long way to go, still a lot to happen, but it's still all a good position for Pressacan to be in, but he has got the medium compound of tyres along with Tornolato, as you can see on the screen. So you've got some different strategies, which just adds a little bit more spice when it comes to our title battle.
Yes, it's a very spicy title battle, and we now head out of the end of lap number 2 to start lap number 3, and Tonelato leads this one with Pressacan sitting just behind, fastest lap for the Ferrari driver. And, well, Campbell Adams sitting just behind as Marcel Paps and Zach Miles come into the pits. And maybe the Aston Martin was involved in that incident too. And, in fact, they both retired. That is the end of their F1 24 campaigns. And I'm sure they'll be uninstalling the game as they exit this lobby. Pressacan trying to sit in behind Tonelato, waiting for his opportunity. And it could come with the DRS, as they are now still 5 tenths ahead of Campbell Adams. So they did build up a gap, but it wasn't quite enough. They need to build up that gap now with those medium tyres on and those hards. While they won't be the quickest now, they will be within the next couple of laps' time. Dowds down the inside of Adams, trying to make this move stick. Trying to go the long way around the chicane. Can the Haas get the power down enough? He's got that DRS on, and he's on that inside line as they head down the second DRS straight. This is perfect for Pressacan and Tonelato. For Dowds, it's desperation as he's down the inside of Adams, still trying to hold on to the position. Can he make this move stick? The answer is yes, he can. And Cameron Dowds onto those podium positions.
Lead driver now on the hard compound of tyres. Super stuff from Dowds, who's able to fire away by, and you could see Adams didn't want to give it up. He had no choice in the end. Dowds was able to make the move. The next one to try and attack Campbell Adams will be Alexander Dimas, who is another one of our contenders. Over the line we go on to lap number 4. It is still Pressacan and Tornolato at the front of the field as they exchange positions. Dimas following super closely to Adams, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of opportunity there will be when we get down the straight, as Jay Van Brussel becomes the first driver to be given a penalty in this race with a 3-second time penalty when it comes to track limits. But Pressacan has been a victor twice this season, looking to make it 3 as he also tries to get the championship along with that. Lighty gets past Valentino Labella. That's a switch for P14.
Yes, and a switch for the leader of the race could come as soon as the chicane, and indeed it does. Tonelato back up into it. And Alexander Dimas, the latest driver, to try to launch an attack on Adams down the inside, switching to the outside line on the exit of the chicane. And Adams lets him have it much easier than Dowds. So potentially there for the Red Bull. He just feels as though this is not his fight anymore. And he will be much better off staying in P5. So having said that, he's now under attack from Marcel Biega. So maybe Campbell has gambled on the qualifying and hasn't quite translated over to the race.
Yep, absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. They go through the hotel section right now, but Dimas finds himself directly behind Dowds now. Through the final few corners we go on this circuit, but Adams beginning to fade slightly down the order. 6/10 between Dowds and Pressakan, and you have different strategies as we've mentioned, so the drivers on the hards doing well to stick with our medium runners, and that's basically exactly what they need to do. Just stay inside the 1 second and they will find themselves in a good position later on in the Grand Prix.
Yes, I mean, it's just now a waiting game for those on the hards until the mediums go off. They don't last very long here in Abu Dhabi, the mediums, in comparison to the hards, and we shall have to wait and see for that drop-off point at the moment. Tonelato and Pressakan perfectly happy to keep swapping position. Dowd's perfectly happy to sit in P3 and wait for that opportunity to try to get past, as Adams slightly misses his braking point, almost goes into the back of Alexander Dimas. Glad that he didn't do that, because that would have certainly thrown something into the championship battle, but they stay in position. Tonelato swapping back with Pressakan for that race lead with that DRS, and the Ferrari and the Mercedes trying to work together here, but Cameron Dowds is not letting go of that gap. It's just under 3 seconds, and we are now almost 6 laps into the race, so it's the perfect chance for those hard runners to just try and stay and see what they're capable of with those medium runners sitting in front. Dowds 3/10 behind Pressakan now as we head on to lap number 6.
So, out of the final corner then, as you mentioned, onto the 6th tour we will go out of 29 in this race, in a championship that has been super close, in a championship which has seen so many drivers be contenders and winners as well. It's been races that have always gone down to the final lap, and we are now looking to see who's going to take it in our 9th and final chapter of the season. Dowd's getting super tight into the braking zone along with Pressakan as they go on the exit of turn 5. We're heading down to turn number 6. The rear wing, the DRS will open. Dowds will be in close proximity. Pressakan will be the one who will be dishing out the overtake as he'll try and get to the lead of the race, but is that going to open the door for Dowds to try and go the long way around? So Pressakan couldn't get in there, neither could Dowds, and we are still in grid order. Contact further back, and that is going to be Carrero momentarily off the road along with Joe Van Bussel. They will both continue on as we get a change for the lead at the front of the field. Pressakan hits the front. Dowds trying to go through as well. Dowds trying to get to the inside part of the circuit, and they will continue to go side by side, wheel to wheel, but it's the Scarlet Ferrari who has the position, and it's Tonelato still in P2.
Yeah, Tonelato defending that P2. This is perfect for Pressakan. If the drivers behind can fight, then Pressakan can try to break away. It was either he was going to try and fight with Tonelato for that P1 and try and swap that position, or it was the case that Pressakan would try to break away, and this is the opportunity for him to break away. 6/10 ahead of Tonelato with Dowds right on the rear of the Ferrari as the mediums drop off. Jerry Van Bussel coming into the pit lane to retire from the session. Alexi Cabero could be doing the same thing, or he could be trying to change off of damaged front wing as we're on lap number 7 of this race now. There's all still to play for in this one, and Tudor Pressakan 6/10 ahead. There we go. Alexi Cabero does unfortunately retire from the session, and we now head down the straight one more time with Pressakan in the lead of this one. Tonelato in P2 and Dowds trying to make the move in P3. It's 3 wide for this race lead with Cameron Dowds trying to take that race lead off of Tudor Pressakan and the championship lead as well. He's around the outside of Tonelato, who tried to stay in there as long as he could, but that has actually cost him a lot of time. Now Pressakan around the outside. Dimas trying to go through the championship contenders, and Tonelato were 4 wide momentarily as Pressakan decides to back out of it. Tonelato holding the middle, and he is just going to be a passenger in this one as Dowds heads through in the lead. Contact between Tonelato and Dimas, and Dowds now has a gap. Dimas down the inside of Pressakan, who tries to get himself involved. Pressakan now trying to make the switchback work, and the Mercedes trying to stay in the battle. He can't quite do it. Dimas into second. Dowds now has a gap of almost 1 second. He's almost outside of DRS range.
Absolutely unbelievable stuff. The top 3 in the championship, the top 3 in the road, but it's Dowds who has the advantage. Dimas 1 second away after his battling that we had between Pressakan, and that was exactly what we were discussing. It was always going to boil over. It's happened on the end of lap number 7, on to lap number 8, but now Dimas has to deploy a bit of the battery to try and stick with Cameron Dowds. He cannot afford Dowds to be able to pull away, because there will be some crazy battling that will continue to go on for second. He'll want it to be for the lead. He's luckily got DRS to close the gap back in. As further back, Oleg Napadovsky having to check his mirrors because he's got Pastor Maldonado to the side, and we've got Wojciech Szczeg trying to get past Felipe Sousa. Lots of battling down to the 6th turn of the circuit. That's the Williams of Maldonado trying to get the power down. Will he be able to do it up against the Haas driver? He will emerge in front as we still go side by side between Ryan Grubb, who's getting past Wojciech Szczeg, he's getting past Felipe Sousa, and we're going to see the McLaren try to keep his foot in. That's going to be super wide for Wojciech Szczeg, and when he rejoins, it's going to be his teammate to the left-hand side, but Wojciech Szczeg is going to keep hold of that position after some close battling. It's still not done yet as Szczeg tries to fight back up against Sousa.
Yes, Szczeg just trying to take advantage of Sousa going wide, but he can't quite do it. And Lighty now tries to head through on his Kick Sauber teammate. They head around the final couple of corners of this lap. And Lighty around the outside. Can he get through on Wojciech Szczeg? Yes, he can. He's up into P11. We head on to lap number 9 with Cameron Dowds now being reeled in by Dimas. Those 400s that he couldn't quite break away from Dimas could be absolutely crucial, as he had the opportunity to get out of the DRS, but he couldn't quite do it. And Dowds now leads the race only 3 tenths ahead of Alexander Dimas. These top 3 are the top 3 in the championship. Leonardo Tonelato trying to get his nose in there as well. So these top 4, they went 4 wide on that previous lap, and they had the opportunity to do so again with that DRS. Alexander Dimas closes in on Dowds, doesn't quite get that slipstream on, and actually closes the DRS down the straight as he wants to sit in P2 for the time being. Dowds continues to lead, but it's another DRS zone for Alexander Dimas. Is the Alpine going to be able to close in this time and make a move, or is he going to tactically sit behind again? He didn't want to give Dowds the DRS in the first section or the second section, so Dimas is playing this one tactically.
Yes, playing it tactically. No point passing, no point going wheel to wheel and banging wheels and letting Pretakan back ahead. The top 2 are in good position. That's a moment for Felipe Sousa. We are really having contact further back in a way that we usually don't see it. We do, of course, get to contact eventually in a race with how much close they are in proximity to one another, but we're really getting some contact near the back. They're really all going for it as Pretakan, talking about going for it, Pretakan absolutely pushing Dimas through the final few corners as we head down to lap number 10 and through the opening couple of corners on the circuit. So the Mercedes in close proximity as we go through turn number 3, 4, and then the hard braking zone of turn number 5 will come up, and then we'll get to our overtaking opportunities down the straight. So the driver on the medium compound of tyre, can he use it as he has a bit of a slide when he stands on the power and gets ready to open the DRS, which also belongs to the Alpine driver that is in front. Is Dimas going to pull out of the slipstream and make the move this time around? He still is going tactically. He is still sitting in behind. There was no real pressure from Pretakan, meaning that he didn't have to make the move down into the 6th turn.
Yes, there's no pressure yet for all of these drivers to make those moves. Of course, we're only a third of the way through the race, and the hard runners are now going to try and manage those tyres. So are the medium runners to some extent, but they are now just going to try and manage those tyres and extend the stint as long as they possibly can, potentially to a soft run at the end, although they don't last very long in any way, shape or form. So we could be seeing Pretakan and Tonelato try to manage themselves and go in on a set of the hard compound tyres as we head on to lap 11 of this race. Maybe not this lap, but within the next couple of laps we could be seeing a pit stop, or potentially this lap if they want to undercut. No, they're going to go on for one more lap at least, and we head on to 11 with Dowds leading this one. Pretakan and Tonelato also don't want to break the DRS. They wouldn't have DRS on anybody behind, but they won't anyway, regardless of when they come into the pits, because of the fact that everybody is on a set of the hards. The only exceptions being Justin Aerts, potentially, who came in earlier on. He could offer DRS to those drivers behind, but he is quite far off the field. Adams down the inside of Tonelato, trying to get through on those hards, while Tonelato sits on those mediums. Can Adams get through? He got the exit, but he didn't quite get the power down as much as he would have liked to. And Tonelato still alongside these two, fighting away with each other. And Adams taking the position in the end. Tonelato now dropping further down, as that's a late move from Oleg Napadovsky down the inside of Pastor Maldonado, and he can't quite make it move. There's a bit of wheel banging on the exit, and Pastor Maldonado just holds on to that P7 for now. Dimas closer to Dowds than he has been before, and not closing it this time, but not closing in close enough. Biega trying to go around the outside of Tonelato. He sent himself wide, and he could come under pressure from the Williams and Maldonado behind. Not quite yet. And Marcel Biega has broken his own momentum. And he sits in P6. He tried to match it with the top 5's pace at the moment, but couldn't quite find it yet. And we could be seeing the Mercedes having his own influence on this race within the next couple of laps, which could play into the championship contention, as Pressakan is a Mercedes driver. But Pressakan and Tonelato, I said they might wait one more lap. They have indeed, and they have pulled the trigger. Pressakan and Tonelato into the pit. They're going to switch on to assess at the hards, and that is the crucial moment for Pressakan's championship. Is he going to be able to come out and push as hard as he possibly can, or is he going to have Tonelato for annoying company?
That'll be the interesting question, of course, mainly about how much can they get the gap to. They're going to be in clean air pushing on, and that's why it's important for Dimas and Dowds not to battle too much, because if they battle too hard, then they will find themselves losing time. They can have easy switches with DRS, that's absolutely fine, like we're seeing on screen, but any battles that go down to braking zones where they're losing time cannot be taking place at this stage, or it means they have much more work to do later on in the contest. So Dimas hits the front of the field. Dowds will get DRS to try fight back, and he'll try make an easy move back to take the lead of the race once again. So Dowds back to P1, Dimas still in second, and then we have Campbell Adams really close behind these two drivers, as well as we get closer and closer to half race distance in our final race of the season, and also on the game cycle as well. But it's going to be really fascinating to see how Alexander Dimas is going to be able to do. Got the victory in Singapore, a brilliant victory in Singapore, which reignited this championship and got him into the contention, got him into the battle that he is in right now, in close proximity, only 3 points away from our championship leader. And right now, though, he has Cameron Dowds to worry about on the circuit. Later on in the race, he'll definitely have to also deal with Tador Pressakan if he wants to be called the champion driver by the end of today.
Yeah, Pressakan and Tonelato will not get that DRS off of Justin Ertz, because he came into the pits one more time, did the V-carb, and so they have 12.3 seconds up to the next driver, Felipe Sousa, ahead. Sousa's teammate Campbell Adams, closer than ever to Alexander Dimas, could be trying to make this move. This isn't for a championship place, this is just for glory. Dimas heads through on Dowds. Adams isn't going to quite make that move. I don't think he wanted to deploy yet. I think the Red Bull is just saving for the time being. But Pressakan, 12.4 seconds now off of Felipe Sousa. And that is a gap that he's going to want to break down as soon as he possibly can. He's going to be hot lapping with Leonardo Tonelato just 6/10 behind. Dowds around the outside of this corner, and he makes his way through pretty easily with DRS. These two swapping that DRS, doing exactly what Tonelato and Pressakan were doing, and still are doing, as Tonelato makes his way past and into P12. These two need to work together, otherwise it will be Tonelato's race over and Pressakan's championship over. The Mercedes heading back through with that DRS, just as we saw Dowds and Dimas swap before. So battle for P12, which could potentially be the on-track P1, and battles for the on-track P1 continue on to lap number 14. Almost halfway through this race now, and it's all in the balance.
Campbell Adams, I think, really has done well this season. He's a reserve driver filling in today for Korsman, but in all of the appearances that he's had, some brilliant results, and it will definitely mean a lot to him for the driver that's currently 9th in the standings. Hasn't had a podium, but has constantly been in the points in most of the races that he has done, bar that one DNF that he had at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. He's also been a pole sitter as well, as we mentioned, at Brazil and earlier today at the same time. Alexander Dimas going through, and this time around you are going to see Campbell Adams also make the move, which right now splits Dimas and Dowds, but Dowds will try get that one back. So Adams moves up through into second position. That's exactly where he wants to be, as he wants to be in contention, and he will also now make the move for the lead. Down into turn number 9 will be an easy switch between those two drivers as Justin Ayert retires from this session, one of our F4 champions from this game cycle earlier on.
Yeah, Justin Ertz coming into the pits to retire, and he becomes the 5th of the drivers to retire on this field. We started with 18, we're down to just 13, and Pressakan and Tonelato the bottom 2, but they are now closing rapidly on Felipe Sousa. I think there was a mistake from the Red Bull coming out on that last lap, which meant that he dropped about 2 seconds to Wojciech Steg ahead, but also dropped about 3 seconds to Tudor Pressakan as well. So those two still trying to make that steady progress up to the groups up ahead. Campbell Adams, they will actually get DRS off of the parked car of Justin Edwards. I don't think he does, because I think it's just before the detection zone, but I'm glad he didn't in the end, to be fair, as Judah Prescan slams in the fastest lap of the race at 24.1, and they head down the DRS straight another time. Campbell Adams leading the way. Alexander Dimas trying to close the gap, and he could make this move as they head into the chicane one more time. He does. Dimas up into P1. Adams sitting in P2, and Dowd sitting in P3. Adams could be a really useful tool or a thorn in the side today at Dimas and Dowd, and time will only tell which one he is.
Absolutely. It will indeed, as we make our way back down the straight. And guess what? You're getting another change for the lead. Brilliant stuff as Campbell Adams goes back through in a race which right now you're seeing nice and easy passes. When we do get through the pit stop phase for most of the field, that's when they'll start to get a bit more aggressive. That's when gloves will be off and we'll properly go racing to see who's going to take our final victory of the season. Pressacan and Tornalato doing their own little game of DRS chicken at the back as well, as they try to keep themselves in contention, switching positions lap after lap, just keeping themselves running as fast as possible along with these lead drivers.
Yes, and well, we got a few of our hard runners coming into the pits. Napadovsky, Grob and Lighty coming in, as well as Felipe Sousa. So they will drop those positions to Pressacan and Tonelato, and we will see now where they end up coming out. So they were all sort of in a DRS train. There was about a 2-second gap between the driver in P6 and the driver in P5. So if Pressacan and Tonelato can slot themselves in ahead, about 2 seconds ahead of Napadovsky, they can call that a job well done, and they're going to do so with a pretty decent gap as well. It hasn't quite come up on the timing boards how big it is, but it's a good advantage for them to have Dimas past Dowd, or Dimas past Adams even another time, and those top 5 still together. No DRS for Wojtek Steg behind, and Judah Pressacan and Leonardo Tonelato have a 4-second gap to Oleg Napadovsky. Around this time, they would be about a second ahead of Dimas and everybody in that pack, so it's perfect play so far from Pressacan and Tonelato. If they can make those hards last to the end, then they will be in good stead in terms of this race. Also looking at the fact as well that Pressacan for the championship only needs to finish P2. If he and Tonelato can finish 1-2, the Mercedes will be absolutely ecstatic regardless of where he ends up finishing. Do we see any pit stops? Dimas dives in, Dowd dives in, Adams keeps going, and Biega and Maldonado come in as well. So this is the crucial moment for the championship. Tudor Pressacan is heading through the final sector with Leonardo Tonelato on his rear. They'll head around the final corner as Dimas starts to head out of the pits. It'll be Dowds to lead the drivers out of the pits, in fact, as they now come in. No, Dowds later on in the pit boxes, and they will come out behind Pressacan and Tonelato. But what is that gap as we head on to lap number 17? You can see those drivers who pitted a lap earlier coming out ahead. Dimas could be fighting with Lighty on exit. Indeed he is, and he's right in behind Oleg Napadovsky. So about 4 seconds between the drivers, and so they lost about 3 seconds by pitting a lap later, but they're going to have fresher medium compound tyres towards the end of the race. It is on now, and Dimas and Dowd, this is the most crucial part of their championship. Dimas past Lighty. Can he get past Napadovsky as well? He's going to opt to just tuck back in and get past the kick Sauber, whereas Cameron Dowd is going to have to wait just that little bit longer to get past Lighty.
So this is the moment, as you mentioned. This is where they need to try and pass quickly. Here comes Cameron Dowd. He's going to send it down the inside. A move that he needed to make. A move that he does go for. In the end, he cannot afford to lose touch with Dimas. He needs to stick with Dimas because he's also up against Dimas when it comes to this title fight. So Dimas and Dowd at this stage need to try get themselves higher up to Pressacan, and then it will be a full brawl to see who is going to take it, along with Tornalato, who will definitely still be one of those contenders also in the mix. But now we make our way through these final few corners. We have Adams who comes into the pit lane. Steg comes into the pit lane, meaning the net lead is now the official lead for Pressacan, and it gives us a better idea of the drivers of Dimas and Dowd as they try closing along with everyone else in the train, including Ryan Grob, who has a penalty but is the leader, and he's 3.4 seconds away in this train.
Yeah, 3.4 seconds. That has stabilised over the last lap, whereas the lap before it's been closed in by 0.3 of a second. So they are getting closer, these drivers, and as they head out of turn number 5, it closes to just 2 or 3.2 seconds. So it's much closer. And Oleg Napadovsky now trying to fight with Ryan Grob. Dimas going to the inside. It's 3 wide as they head into turn number 6. Who's going to come out on top? Dimas making a late send. And he does get through on Grub, but can't quite get, or he gets through on Dowds even, but he can't quite get through on Grob. Dowds now trying to make that move around the outside of Dimas. Could be looking at Grob as well, but doesn't quite. And the 2 championship contenders swapping positions. Marcel Biega looking for a late move down the inside of Dimas. There's contact between the 2, and that ruins Dimas's progress. But it does mean, though, that the Alpine is let back through, and he sits in P6. So Dowds making that position on Dimas. Grob and Napadovsky holding on to P3 and P4. This is very, very nervy times now for Dowds and Dimas, and they need to get through on Napadovsky and Grob on the next lap as the gap has stabilised once again. Otherwise, they could be seeing the championship slipping away from their hands with just 10 laps to go. Tudor Prescan has a pinky on the title, and if they don't get past Napadovsky and Grob on this next lap, I think he could have at least another finger.
He absolutely could. As we make our way then down towards turn number 5. In the background, Lighty trying to make the move on Biega. Wasn't able to do so. He'll try and tuck in behind as we make our way then onto this straight. It's been so much action so far. Tornolata gets past Pressacan, but we're going to look and see Cameron Dowds pull out of the slipstream to get past Ryan Grob. Dimas will be in there as well. Dowds will try to get past his teammate as we're going to go side by side. So Dimas cannot get ahead of Ryan Grob at this stage. He'll get another dose of DRS, but it also will belong to the McLaren as we make our way down towards turn number 9 on this circuit. And there we go with Cameron Dowds pulling out of the system, making the move. That's late to the brakes from Alexander Dimas, who is going to fight her way through as well. A move that he needed, a move that he does make, and now it's going to be only one car between Dowds and Dimas, unless Ryan Grob can fight back, trying to go the long way around, trying to get it to the inside. He can't do it at this stage. Dimas moves up through to P5.
Yeah, Dimas up to P5. He felt as though he needed to make that move, and now he has Napadovsky on his hands to get through. The gap is once again stabilised as we head on to lap 20, but it's the fastest lap of the race for Cameron Dowds, which means that the tide could be turning in terms of this chasing pack trying to get back up. Dowds 3.4 seconds behind, but he was, of course, a few more tenths back with Napadovsky, who was leading that pack. He's not playing the teammate role at the moment, is Oleg, and he could be trying to get back past, or at least close with the DRS. He will have Dimas for company, though, who will be desperate to get past and try to fight on his own terms with the Shazoo driver. We head down the straight. Pressacan and Tonelata will swap one more time. They're now 3.6 seconds ahead of Dowds. The leader of this pack will not have DRS. Dimas will, and he's going to try to pull to the inside. So is Oleg Napadovsky, who's going to try and get through on his teammate. Doesn't quite get the traction down, and so he sits in P4, but he just cuts off the gap for Alexander Dimas, and so the championship contender isn't able to get through and fight on his own terms quite yet with Cameron Dowds, as Napadovsky now tries to go around the outside of his teammate. The DRS has aided him in trying to make that move. Those tyres are similar ages, similar wear, and Napadovsky is just trying to duke this one out. He can't quite get through, though, but he's certainly giving his teammate a scare. Dimas around the outside, squeezing Napadovsky. He's trying to make sure that the Haas driver has no effect in this battle, and he's just done so with ease. Dimas making a move in the final sector. It's not so easy, but he makes it certainly look it. Lap number 21, and it could be another fastest lap of the race. Not quite. Dowds stabilised the gap once again, 3.4 seconds, and they will be very nervous now.
It will definitely be now getting to a point where they need to stop battling so hard. They are not catching up. They are not catching up to our top 2. It's still 3.4 seconds. With all of this battling corner after corner, all the top 2 are doing is switching places down the straights with DRS, which gains them time. These drivers battling through corners absolutely does not. There you can see the Scarlet Ferrari moving his way through while this train continues to battle on hard. So you've got Adams up against Maldonado. At the same time, you've got Dimas getting ahead of Cameron Dowds. They're super late on the brakes into the braking zone. Napadovsky just ahead of Ryan Grob, and that's going to be Biega spinning to the back of the field. There's been contact down at turn number 6, so it's going to not be going his way. He'll have a lot to recover. Dowds getting straight back past Alexander Dimas, and he's fully completed the move when they exit turn number 9.
Yes, Dowds making his way through in turn number 9, as you say, and he now tries to close that gap up to the top 2. And they just really need now to make those pushes. Oleg Napadovsky and Ryan Grob sitting in behind and ready to make a launch if there's any mistakes from those two in 3 and 4. Don't forget as well, Presican does not need to win this race to win the title. He just needs to finish ahead of Dimas. And, well, he can finish P2 if Dowds wins this race. The gap has closed in by 2/10 on that previous lap. And so the Haas driver is really putting the pedal to the metal now and trying to close in to those top 2 who are just managing this race so perfectly. Presican and Tonelato have barely put a foot wrong. They were on the alternate strategy, which I thought was the wrong way to go. I thought that for Presican at least, it was just going to be so easy for him to just go on the hards like everybody else and run like everybody else and try to fight it out. But I think, in fact, it's been better managed from the Mercedes if he just goes on that alternate strategy and has that physical gap up. Dimas swaps with Dowds.
So that's a switch that goes on and that takes place as we make our way once again down through. You have Presican, who is going to make that move with ease. You're also going to see Dimas and Dowds do the exact same, and they are finally understanding that if they want to close in, if they want to play any factor in this title battle, they have to get on with it. They cannot afford to be battling, so now we're seeing them use that exact tactic. But those medium tyres, they need to use those mediums to close the gap. A few tenths won't be enough. They need to be pushing on really hard, as right now, yes, it's down to 2.9. They still need to push on a lot more harder if they want to get themselves into the range to have an attack and to play any factor in the race to victory, and of course also the title battle as we go on to lap number 23.
Yeah, they are 15 worth of 2/10 behind, and they are gaining by 2/10 a lap. So they would have to have 15 laps in order to close up. As it stands, they have just 6 to try and close that gap in, and Cameron Dowds is really trying to push now. It's 3/10 behind. They're going to hope that when they get into the DRS, it's a different story, but first, they have to get into that DRS. Judah Presican will be loving the fact that Dimas and Dowds can't close in. He'll also be loving the fact that Leonardo Tonelato has been able to help him in this battle, and it's almost guaranteed that Presican would not have made this strategy work if Tonelato had not also gone for the same strategy. Dimas now holding on ahead of Dowds, but Dowds now moving to the outside line, switching back positions. They are doing the right thing, it's just not yet working. They are 3 seconds behind Presican and Tonelato. They are faster, but are they going to be faster for the rest of the race? I don't think so. I think Presican and Tonelato have this 1-2 if they don't fight too hard.
Yeah, well, they will eventually fight hard when it comes to the last lap, but at that point it's too late. Until then, if they just keep it in the formation they are right now, everything will be all okay. But the phase that they really had to utilize those fresh mediums was when they came out of the box. But instead they were battling, all of them were battling quite hard, which, to be fair, you did see Dowds and Dimas, they had to make the move. You had Napadovsky trying to fight through. That was the moment where the medium runners had to push, and that was where they would have got their big gain at the time. That's where they had the chance to get themselves into the 1 second around this point, and then they could be in contention. Then they'll be in the fight. With the DRS, you're just in the battle anyway. So that was the moment where it really went wrong for these drivers in this train. It's 3.1 seconds. It doesn't look like we're going to get a change when it comes to it. It doesn't look like these drivers will be able to catch up. So it's all gone a little bit wrong at the end when it's come to some of the battling in this train. But Dimas and Dowds are the two leaders of this train now in 3rd and 4th position as Presican and Tonelato continue exchanging places at the front. Same applies to Dowds and Dimas, but wow, it's been a really fascinating race. We thought the mediums would be able to chase down the hards and beat them all the way to the end of this contest, but another turn in the tail of this PSGL Championship decider, the final round of the final race of the game cycle as well. So it's really turned on its heads, and it means that it's going to now take a lot to change if Dowds and Dimas want to have an opportunity.
The one thing that the medium runners have going for them is that those hards are going to go off towards the end of this race. They went early in terms of the switch from the mediums to the hards, which means they're trying to stretch this hard stint right to the end. Yes, those mediums will also be wearing, but I think it'll be those hards that go off first. Of course, now 13 laps they've done on them. They will be doing 17 by the end of this race, whereas these mediums will only be either 12 or 13 laps old if you're Napadovsky, Grob or Lighty or Salsa as well. So they will have that opportunity if they take it. And if they've managed those tyres perfectly to take it to the end of the race, Tonelato and Pressakan as well haven't had to do too much fighting. Not as much, at least, as Dimas and Dowds have. And I think the Alpine and the Haas, I think they just missed out by 1 lap. If they'd have come in on that same lap as Grob and Lighty, Napadovsky and Sousa, they would have been absolutely fine. But they came out in that traffic, and that is what really, really cost them this race.
Yeah, they were pushing on hard. Had they pit on the same lap, they would have been ahead anyway. Instead of the battling they were having, they would have used that time to be able to push, and it would have definitely been quite a lot of fun to see them try close in. But it wasn't to be the case in this race. Is still around the 3-second mark, but it just means that Pressakan, what an absolutely brilliant strategy, along with Tonelato making it work and just going a bit different, which you absolutely have to say when it pays off. It's absolutely a brilliant moment for them, and at such a critical moment for Pressakan on the strategy as well. It definitely takes quite a bit to go different when you just need to finish ahead of your rivals. You do take quite a bit of a risk when you try make a move like that, but he did do it. It has paid off, and he finds himself at the front of the field. He'll continue to battle the victory with Tonelato, but it looks like he's on his way to win the title as we go back and take a look at Dowds back out of the slipstream. But also Oleg Napadovsky wants to get involved. He's getting past Dimas. Is he sending it to the inside of Dowds? He had to think about it. He was not able to make the move, however, so the Haas is now ahead of Dimas.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest gambles that Pressakan could have done, and I don't even think he meant to gamble in terms of making that switch from the mediums, or from the hards to the mediums at the start of the stint. And Shuda Pressakan now is reaping the rewards of taking a gamble, and it has entirely paid off for the Mercedes as they head through the final few laps of this race, and he will almost inevitably be crowned the champion. He's got more than just a binky on this championship trophy now. I'd say he's got at least a whole hand as we head on to lap number 27. Just 3 laps left to go in this race, and Oleg Napadovsky is in the lead of this battle behind. He felt as though Dowds and Dimas weren't going fast enough, but that gap has actually increased over that last lap. 3.5 seconds is what it is, and the 2 Haas drivers at the top of this pack just hoping that they can try to close in. Pressakan and Tonelato, I don't think you can say they put a foot wrong all race. I think the fact that they've worked together has benefited the both of them, and they now sit 3.7 seconds ahead of Napadovsky. So it's almost confirmed for Pressakan now. A mistake fighting too hard from Tonelato or Pressakan will cost them, but I don't think Pressakan will be the sort of driver to try and send it or make a mistake, and I don't think Tonelato is either. But we shall have to wait and see. Not long left to go in this race now, and I don't even think Pressakan is going to fight too hard for this race lead. I think he'll be content with P2 as long as he can take home the title. 3 wide for P4 as Cameron Dowds tries to back out of it and go around the outside of Oleg Napadovsky. They are exactly side by side, and it's going to be a very, very tight 2x2 Noah's Ark as the 2 Haas drivers are side by side. Dowds' exit was compromised, and that means that he is backed into Pastor Maldonado. The Williams now trying to go around the outside, but he can't quite do it. Napadovsky in the lead of this battle. They've lost a second to Tonelato and Pressakan.
They have indeed. On to the penultimate lap we go, and it's going to be Napadovsky versus Dowds. This will be a very fascinating battle as they make their way through, along with Maldonado, along with Dimas. And now we're at this stage where Dowds and Dimas will know that the title isn't possible. They will go all in to try and get this final spot on the podium, as will all of the other drivers in this train. So it's going to be phenomenal to see who comes out on top as we head down to turn number 5.
Yes, and it's the 2 Haas drivers side by side as Dowds tries to salvage everything that he can from this race. Don't forget, even if he's not fighting for P1, P2 is still on. We're going to switch back momentarily to watch Tonelato get past Pressakan one more time, and they'll only have 3 DRS zones to go now as it's 3 wide behind Cameron Dowds. Napadovsky poor entry to the corner, but he still tries to hang it in there. Almost contact between himself and Maldonado, but somehow the Williams comes out on top with Dimas heading through in P5. And Ryan Grob invited into the battle now. Of course, he's got a penalty, but he's still fighting for this track position. 3 wide once again, Lighty, Napadovsky and Dimas. And it's going to be Lighty and Napadovsky who filter out in front. And Dimas dropping all the way down now to P number 8 It's going to be so close between these drivers as they head through the final sector. And it's Dowds who comes out on top. Grob now trying to fight. He's somehow managed to make his way up to try to fight for P4. It's contact! Round goes the Williams into the side of Oleg Napadovsky. And that is the end of their races. Oh, that's so devastating for them. And they're going to continue on for one more lap here in PSGL. But Maldonado and Napadovsky, that is devastating.
That is devastating. We're on to the final lap of the season. The final lap of the game cycle. Pressakan on his way to the title, but will he do it on the top step? Tornalato makes his way through. He's sliding all over the road. The Mercedes has got a good exit. The Ferrari will be closing in. Pressakan trying to break the slipstream as we make our way down towards turn number 6. Will it be enough though as the Ferrari closes in? Is he going to make the move into turn number 6? He's going to be late on the brakes in the final race of the season, and he will go through. He blocks the opportunity for there to be a switchback from Pressakan, who now will get the final dose of DRS on this circuit if he wants to take the win along with the title as Tornalato is trying to break the toe. Here comes Pressakan. Can he make the move? Will he go for it? He will sit in behind. He is not going to go for the move. No point risking it when he is on to make he's on his way to get the biggest trophy of the season into the final few corners, and he was the driver who got demoted from F2. He made his way into F3. He won the opening round of the season, found himself disqualified, was able to get himself to the win in China, to the win in Silverstone. Now he's still trying to chase down Tornalato. He won't be able to do it at the end, but what he will be able to do is become the PC F3 champion of season 39. A super performance, and he beats home two very talented drivers. Dowds, who made a late return back to PC. He got himself in the mix. There was serious pressure with how Dowds was performing, and Dimas, a driver who found himself as the reigning F4 champion. He had the chance to win F3 as well back to back. It won't be the case, and glory is going to be heading to the man in the picture, Pressakan, the champion, the final PC F3 champion on this game.
Tudor Pressakan becomes the latest champion of the third tier here in PSGL, and he's done it in the most mature way he possibly could have. This race has been cooking up for so long, and Tudor Pressakan coming out on top of this championship. It is entirely deserved. Across the season, he's taken more podiums than he has moments off of the podium. He's taken more wins than he has non-points finishes, and for Tudor Pressakan, this is the most deserved victory possible. 3 victories across the season. He's been run close. In Singapore, he finished 12th. In Mexico, he finished P14, but at the end of it, it wasn't a race victory where he needed to take to here. Today, it was P2 that he was able to take in order to take that championship home with the most mature drive he could have possibly cooked up. Cameron Dowds and Alexander Dimas 3rd and 4th. Oh, what could have been for the Scotsman and the Dutchman. And then the points further down. Lighty, Grob, Maldonado, Adams, Napadovsky and Biega rounding out the top 10, with Sousa, Steg and Labella rounding out the finishers. Then it's Aert, Cavero, Van Bussel, Pabst and Miles rounding out the field. But for Tudor Pressakan, absolute jubilation.
Absolutely. It is deserved the way he's worked this season, and to go from round after round. Of course, had the promotion as well for Tony Atala, which was, he was dominating, and he would have won this championship a while back.
Yeah, consistency is key for Tudor Pressacan, and wow, sitting up at the top of the standings, fully deserved there. He's been the most consistent driver of all season, and most importantly, he and Dimas turned up to every single round of the season, and they ended up 2 of the top 3 in the standings. So it's fair play and it's fair game for those drivers who ended up coming out on top, and I think they can all be very happy with their seasons. Dimas and Pressacan playing the whole championship out, whereas Cameron Dowds came into it and just flew away. And I'm sure that he will be one of the championship contenders, if not necessarily in F3, in F2 next season. This has been a breakout one for the Scotsman, and it's a he gets the credit he fully deserves. Those top 3, so good all season long. But don't forget as well that we have so many drivers in this field who are superbly talented, and it was oh so tight in every single qualifying session, almost every single race. But there's also 9 PC tiers of action, so just props to all of those, or 8 even PC tiers. So props to all of those drivers who have competed across the season. Of course, 20 times 8, as we all well know, is it's 160 drivers. So 160 drivers duking it out every single Thursday. That's something to be proud of, and that's something certainly to behold. And well, you think about it, there can only be 8 champions in that lot. Pressacan has now become one of them. Yeah, it's a shame to see the back of GT Omega. Also, partially a shame to see the back of F124. I mean, it's not a shame to see the back of it as a game as a whole, but the memories that F124 have brought will never be forgotten. And we've had multiple seasons here we've had multiple seasons here on F124 in PSGL, and well, the growth is still outstanding. Of course, while we've been thinned out this season, it's been more of a quality issue rather than a quantity issue, and we're hoping that F1 goes in that same direction, where they go more for maybe quality of everything rather than the quantity of it. And F125 is set to be a banger of a game, but it's only a month away, so keep subscribed to PSGL, keep sticking around in the scene, because it will come sooner than you expect. The PSGL Season 40 will be underway.
Interview with our champion, and I mean, it's a perfect man to speak to. A man who's won it all this season. It completely belongs to him, as he gets ready to join us in the waiting room. There he is, and we're going to get ready to speak to him along with Leonardo Tornolato.
Yes, the top 2 in this race today are going to come in, and I reckon we've dragged both of them in. They work together as a team in the race, and they may as well. We may as well get to chat to them as a team in the interviews as well. So, I mean, we'll touch on the race first before we get to the championship, Tudor. But talk to me about that race. Were you working together intentionally the whole time, or was it just a complete surprise that you both ended up same position?
I think that the strategy was the biggest gamble I have ever took, and I pray that there will be more medium runners and not only me, because we tested in practice that maybe medium hard can work alone, but it was a bit risky. So I just pray that I'd have another two guys or one guy at least with me in the train, so we can just switch. And yeah, Leo did the same strat, which was when I saw it at the start, it was incredible. So yeah, nothing else to say, and we played it to perfection with great pace, and yeah.
I think perfection is a great word for it. Leo, have you got anything to say about the strategy? Did you have a similar situation where it was a huge gamble that you were lucky that it paid off, or was it more of a case of just going onto it because why not?
Well, to be honest, I was more leaning towards hard medium. But then when I saw that the timer was running out before you start, I had a conversation with my engineer and I said, I think that if we are not the only people on medium hard, we can make it work and secure top five. So I think I stayed in the menu on medium hard all the way, but I had the other strat prepared. But at the end, it was 1 second. My engineer told me to switch, and I didn't switch. So it was like a bit of a occasion that it happened. But yeah, I mean, seeing how the race went, it was the right call, even though it was a little bit not really on purpose. But yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it certainly paid out for the both of you. Omi, have you got anything before we start talking about Tudor and his title Have you got anything to say to Leo?
Well, first of all, brilliant job across this entire game cycle. Could I quickly have your thoughts before we move on to F1 25 and your goals and what you're looking to do when we get to that game?
Well,
Uh,
certainly. Ah, me or 2D?
We'll go with you first, Leo.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my bad. Well, for me, certainly these last two races, kind of gave me a little boost in confidence, even like after what happened in the recent weeks. I think these two performances kind of improve my situation, even though it's not the best. Um, After what happened, what I told myself is, okay, let's get on track. Let's prove that one mistake does not make a driver. And yeah, that's kind of what I did. Last race, pole position, then yeah, unfortunate race, but today was kind of good. So, well, I'm certainly looking forward to next game. Hopefully I can join some organization to get some more help with setups because I was kind of alone in these 2 weeks making stuff. Um, but then yeah, when I do this thing, certainly my aim is to challenge for first to be quick and get an F2 and then challenge and have some fun.
Yeah, obviously it was. It's been a whirlwind couple of weeks, but I'm glad that we were able to round out the PSGL season with some success and F1 24 with some success as well. One more question, Leo: is F1 24 staying in your Steam library after this evening?
I already uninstalled it. Don't worry.
Wonderful. Okay. Well,
Worst game ever made.
I thought I'd pop the question and I thought I'd ask. But yeah, fair enough. And
Yeah,
well,
no chance.
hope to see you next season. But Tudor, we'll get to talk to you now. We'll get to talk to you about that championship. So, I mean, going into the race, what were your thoughts? Just full stop. What were your thoughts going into the final round at Abu Dhabi?
well, I started practicing on like Tuesday, and my pace was really good from the start. I had really good PBs, and I was just doing them constantly. So it was great to see. And yeah, I was just pretty calm going into the race. Didn't want to risk too much with wheel-to-wheel racing in this race because yeah, it would have been pretty risky. And yeah, I was just calm, collected, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, it did just seem to be that you were calm and collected, and of course that strategy ended up paying off. And you said it was a massive, massive gamble, and indeed it was. what was the feeling like when you saw that Dowds and Dimas came out of the pit in that traffic?
The gap was ideally what we had on the data, but yeah, it was it was at the limit that they would catch. So I just started pushing a lot, and on the first few laps they gained a bit, but then the hard and the medium just get to an equal pace kind of, and then I just gained 10th after 10th per lap, and yeah, it just perfect pace.
Fair enough. I mean, Omi, you've been sticking around with Tudor and F3 the whole season, so I'll let you take the stage and discuss more with Tudor the rest of the season as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. When, of course, you won on the road in the season opener, what was your thoughts, of course, on that when you did get the penalty straight after demoting you down to 11th? I remember you winning that drag race to the line. So, what was the goal? Was it immediately just fight back straight away in the next round, or what was the approach that you decided to take after that?
Well, from the start of the season, the main goal was to win the championship, and I was pretty pissed after round one because I had really good race pace, and they just got those pens, which were some of them were fair enough, some not, but it doesn't matter now. And then in the next round, I just yeah came back stronger, and yeah just yeah delivered when it mattered.
Perfect stuff. Could you also then tell us about, if we go back a season ago, you found yourself in F2. What has changed, of course, going from F2 down to F3? Was it just you didn't have time for preparation in F2, or what was the reason that was costing you there?
Well, I didn't. It was just my first season on PC coming from Xbox, and I only had one good race, and I didn't manage to prove myself. But I got demoted to F3, and I just went faster and faster, and I think now I'm the fastest I have ever been on the game, and my times are F2 pace, F2 top pace for sure.
Perfect stuff. Well, we can't wait to see more of you in F1 25, but congratulations on the title this season.
Thank you.
Yes, well done. Well done, Tudor, and well, it was certainly a great season from him. I don't think we'll be seeing him back in F3, if I'm perfectly honest. I think F2 is where he belongs, and well, we'll see him there. But for now, we'll speak to somebody else who could potentially be in F2 very early on in the next game cycle. Cameron, a bit more of a difficult race for you than the two that we've just spoken to, Leo and Tudor, but talk me through it nonetheless.
Yeah, naturally it's a bit gutting not to win the championship, to be honest. I thought we were in quite a good position, as I thought the medium hard strategy wouldn't really work, but they played it to perfection, to be honest, swapping every lap, and then I figured they must have opted for higher wings because they were just absolutely rapid. And then, for some reason we're all fighting like it's the last lap at the start of the second stint. So I mean, it's just impossible to catch when only me and Alexander are trying to work together properly, and the rest are just trying to get into thirds before anywhere near the end of the race. But I mean, I think third in the championship, it's decent. But naturally, obviously I wished for a bit more, but I just have to deal with it, I guess, and try and win next season.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those where we were, especially when you came in, we weren't quite expecting you to be fighting up there at the top. So I think props to you on that. But yeah, heading into racing in F3, what were the expectations, and did you end up exceeding them?
Yeah, definitely. To be honest, I really didn't expect to be. I think I finished on the podium every race, so I mean that's pretty decent. Honestly, I didn't really know what my pace would be like on the PC. I didn't know if it would take me a little bit to adapt to it, but it felt pretty natural pretty early on. The pace was just there after not too long. So I mean, I think I've exceeded what I thought I would do. To be honest, I didn't think I'd be able to bring the fight to the championship, let alone take it to the last race. So, I mean, in that aspect, I'm quite happy.
Yeah, it's certainly been a good season or good half season in terms of your performances. Omi, have you got anything for Cameron? I know you've been around more than I have this season.
Well, yeah, and it was also great to see Cameron before he moved on to the PlayStation side back at the end of 2023 when he was still with us on PC. But yeah, completely, I think I definitely agree with him in terms of him exceeding his own expectations, because someone coming in round 5, being in championship contention in the 4 races that he had prior to this is absolutely unbelievable, considering we've also got one of the shortest seasons we've ever had in PSGL in recent time. But overall, I asked you this question when you won the race on debut, or when you returned back with us at Austria. I'm going to ask it again. Overall, can I just have your thoughts on returning back to PC and how everything has been like? Well, it's definitely looked very good when it's come to results, but overall, what's been your feelings and thoughts on this return?
Yeah, it's been really positive, to be honest. I think, to be honest, last year I didn't really have as much motivation to play the game, especially at the start of this game. I didn't really have much motivation, but I guess I've just found it again. And to be honest, I've never really felt better pace-wise, and hopefully I can continue that onto next year's game and just keep making my way upwards.
Well, fully deserved. Even if it's not the championship, you basically put yourself in a position that you shouldn't have been in the first place, which is absolutely unbelievable. So congratulations, and we cannot wait to see more of you on F125.
Yep, thank you.
Yep, exactly, and I'm sure we will be seeing Cameron Dowds on F125. Last driver that we're going to bring in. He's the 3rd contender from today, and it's TTM's Alexander Dimas. So, Alex, talk me through that race from your perspective.
I mean, quali did better than I thought. One of my better laps that I did, I think. Also one of the highest positions I've been in quali, of course. But outside of that, the race, it went decent, but I didn't think we wouldn't catch them. Like, no one was working together in the train, only me and Cameron, which was really annoying. And then, of course, we wouldn't catch them at the end. I mean, they were really fast. I don't know what kind of setup or some things we were missing differ than them. But yeah, I think it was a great race, just a bit of sad, of course, to end it like this.
Yeah, it is a shame that it ended, because it did feel as though it was cooking up to be a great one with you closing in that final stint. Was there any consideration ever of you doing exactly what Tudor did, and Leo as well, where they went on the medium switch to the hards, or were you always going to go hard medium?
I didn't think it was that good of a strategy, not gonna lie. But thinking back, I think the hards are just OP on this track, and they never like run out. Wherever the mediums, they did run out, because at the beginning you could also see Tudor and Leonardo, I think, weren't like driving away from us. So that already goes to show that the hards were pretty OP that race. And yeah, I mean, if we went to the medium hard, I would have still had to get in P1 to finish ahead of Tudor, of course, and fight Leonardo as well. I don't know how that would have been, but I definitely had more of a chance than fighting with guys that don't want to work together to the top, you know. So yeah, I think I would have had a better chance at winning, definitely.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal from that front at least, but you gave it a pretty good go, and I think towards the end of it, and towards the end of a very long season. Well, shorter than it regularly would be, but still, I'm sure it felt incredibly long season. I'm sure you can be pretty happy with it in the end. Omi, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You've been with F3 and Dimas since the start of the season. Take it away.
Well, I'd like to know a little bit about your expectations coming into this season. Of course, reigning F4 champion, you got that title last season. So, would you say the goal was immediately once you won the title to now come into F3 and win this? Or did you have some low expectations coming into this?
I mean, of course, it would have been nice to take two in one game, of course, but I mean, F3 has been really strong this game, like way stronger than last year's game. I mean, last year's game I wasn't even at the top on tier 3 on F123, but on this game I could compete with the top. So I have improved. I'm pretty happy with that. I wouldn't expect me to be this high. I would expect a top 5, but not this high, honestly. Maybe also because other people aren't really happy with the game, of course, and not driving as much like me. I only have like $300 on this game. But yeah, nothing to think about on this game. We'll move on to the next game, of course, to see what will happen next.
Well, commiserations on today, and best of luck moving on to F1 25.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for commentating as well.
Yeah, no worries at all. And well, of course, Omi's been with you the whole season, so he deserves a lot of props as well. And so does Corey as well. He's had his well-deserved promotion to F2 this evening. So I think that is certainly another person to thank this evening. We'll go back momentarily to the commentator's corner just so you can get one last glance of Omi here in F1 25, and myself. Of course, Omi will be the main character as we switch over and round out what has been an enthralling season with a title finale. And well, don't forget as well, F2, F4 live now. So I'm sure, especially F4's 8-driver title competition, they're going to be enthralling watches. Omi, have you got any final thoughts on F1 24, on the season, on F3 in general, that you'd like to share now?
Well, first of all, thanks for putting up with me. I think definitely we have to say to the entire viewership across F2 and F3 on this game cycle as well. And yes, definitely go and do watch the F4 with an unbelievable title fight going on there, and of course the F2 with also the champion still yet to be crowned. But once again, as you mentioned, thank you to Corey. He's done incredible work coming into the full-time role in F3, and I'm hoping that he's having a great time out there in F2. And we of course have to end it with saying a huge thank you to all the viewership, to all the viewers. Thanks of course to all of the admins and everyone who makes this season possible, and once again to the drivers in what has been a hard game to wrap it up, but definitely I'm sure they've all given it their all. And we're going to end it with a huge thank you to GT Omega for the last few years as we part ways at the end of this game cycle. They've made everything that currently goes on possible, and a lot of this and at the stage that PSGL is at right now, a lot of it wouldn't have happened without the help of GT Omega. So a huge thank you to them, and they've really made this last few seasons possible, and as great as they have been. So a huge thank you, and we wish them the best of luck moving on and hopefully up.
Exactly. I'm just going to roll one more time as we round out the season. The full PSGL season 39, including GT Omega trailer, just to round us off. See you next season.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Horgan here and Jack Canat.
All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go!
Contact between the Mercedes teammates.
Donoso with a crafty maneuver up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Beresne.
Longay has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.